Imagine a grand hall, sunlight streaming through tall windows, illuminating rows of eager faces. At the front, a man stands confidently, his voice resonating with knowledge and passion as he lectures on complex financial models. This is Professor Michael Thompson, esteemed faculty member at one of the nation's most prestigious Ivy League universities. But rewind just a few years, and the scene couldn't be more different. Picture a cramped, dusty sedan, parked in a dimly lit parking lot. Inside, a young man hunches over textbooks, the faint glow of a battery-powered lamp illuminating pages filled with numbers and graphs. This, too, is Michael Thompson, but a Michael battling a very different set of circumstances. The journey from that car to this lecture hall is a testament to the power of self-belief, unwavering determination, and the unexpected impact of a story gone viral. It's a story that begins not with privilege or opportunity, but with hardship and a burning desire to change his life. Michael's viral story is not just about him. It's about the universal human capacity for resilience and the potential that lies within each of us, waiting to be unlocked. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can flicker, and a single spark of inspiration can ignite a fire that changes everything. The path was not easy. There were moments of doubt, despair, and the constant gnawing feeling of uncertainty. But Michael pressed on, fueled by a dream and a refusal to let circumstances define him. His story is a beacon for anyone who has ever felt lost, discouraged, or trapped by their situation. It demonstrates that with hard work, dedication, and a belief in oneself, anything is possible. The story of Michael Thompson is a vivid illustration of how grit and determination can help one triumph against all odds. This is a story about achieving the impossible. But who was Michael before the Ivy League, before the viral fame, before the car even became his temporary home? His story begins in a small town, nestled amidst rolling hills and sprawling farmland. Growing up, Michael wasn't surrounded by wealth or privilege. His parents worked tirelessly, his mother as a school teacher and his father as a mechanic, instilling in him the values of hard work, honesty, and the importance of education. From a young age, Michael displayed a curious mind and an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He devoured books, spending hours lost in stories and absorbing information on every subject imaginable. But it was numbers that truly captivated him. He saw patterns and possibilities where others saw only equations. He loved the logic, the precision, and the power of mathematics. This fascination led him to the world of finance. He saw how numbers could be used to build businesses, create opportunities, and shape economies. He dreamt of becoming an investor, of using his skills to make a positive impact on the world. He would spend hours at the local library, poring over financial reports and investment guides, teaching himself the fundamentals of the stock market and the intricacies of economic theory. His parents, though not financially savvy themselves, recognized his passion and encouraged his pursuits. They scrimped and saved to buy him a basic computer, opening up a world of online resources and educational opportunities. Michael excelled in school, particularly in math and economics. He became known as the numbers whiz among his classmates, always ready to help them with their homework or explain complex concepts. He harbored ambitions of attending a top university, a place where he could further hone his skills and connect with like-minded individuals. He knew it wouldn't be easy, given his family's financial constraints, but he was determined to find a way. He applied for scholarships, worked part-time jobs, and dedicated himself to achieving the highest possible grades. He saw education as his ticket to a better future, a way to break free from the limitations of his circumstances and pursue his dreams. He knew it would be an uphill battle, but he was ready to fight for it. He was ready to make something of himself, not just for himself, but for his family and for everyone who had ever believed in him. The acceptance letter to his dream university felt like a golden ticket. Michael was ecstatic. It was a validation of his hard work and a promise of a brighter future. However, the euphoria was short-lived. The financial aid package he received, while helpful, still left a significant gap. The cost of tuition, room, and board seemed insurmountable. His parents, despite their best efforts, simply couldn't afford to contribute enough. Michael took on extra shifts at his part-time job, working late nights and weekends to save every penny he could. He explored every possible avenue for additional scholarships and grants, but the competition was fierce. He even considered deferring his admission for a year to work full-time, but the thought of delaying his education filled him with disappointment. Adding to the financial strain, his father suffered an accident at work, a back injury that left him unable to perform his duties as a mechanic. The medical bills piled up, further depleting the family's already meager savings. Michael's mother had to take on a second job to make ends meet, leaving her exhausted and stressed. The pressure mounted on Michael. He felt responsible for his family's well-being and torn between pursuing his education and supporting them financially. He started experiencing anxiety and sleepless nights, questioning whether he had made the right decision in pursuing his dream. Despite the challenges, Michael refused to give up. He knew that quitting was not an option. He owed it to himself, to his family, and to everyone who had believed in him to keep fighting. He decided to take a leap of faith, enrolling in the university with the hope that he could find a way to make it work. He secured a student loan, knowing that it would burden him with debt for years to come, but he saw it as an investment in his future. He arrived on campus with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He was determined to make the most of his opportunity, but he also knew that he would face significant financial challenges. He continued to work part-time, juggling his studies with his job responsibilities. He lived frugally, cutting expenses wherever he could. He ate ramen noodles for most of his meals, avoided social activities, and spent his free time studying in the library. He was determined to succeed, no matter the cost. But fate, it seemed, had other plans in store for him. A series of unfortunate events would soon lead him down a path he never could have imagined, a path that would ultimately lead him to living in his car. The first blow came unexpectedly. Michael's part-time job at the local diner, his lifeline, announced sudden closure due to financial difficulties. The owner, a kind woman who had always supported Michael, was forced to shut down after years of struggling to stay afloat. This left Michael without a crucial source of income, jeopardizing his ability to pay for his basic needs, let alone his tuition. Desperate, Michael searched for other employment opportunities, but the competition was fierce. He applied for countless jobs, from retail positions to tutoring gigs, but received rejection after rejection. The local economy was struggling, and jobs were scarce. Then came the second, more devastating blow. His family's home, the only home he had ever known, was foreclosed upon. His father's injury had made it impossible for him to work, and his mother's meager income was not enough to cover the mortgage payments and mounting medical bills. They were forced to move out, leaving behind their memories and their sense of security. Michael's parents moved in with his aunt, who lived in a small apartment in a neighboring town. There simply wasn't enough room for Michael. He was faced with a heartbreaking decision: drop out of university and return home to help his family, or find a way to stay in school and continue pursuing his dream. He couldn't bear the thought of giving up on his education. He knew that a degree was his best chance of securing a stable future for himself and his family. But he also couldn't afford to pay for room and board. He had exhausted all of his financial resources, and his student loan barely covered his tuition. After weeks of agonizing over his options, Michael made a difficult choice. He decided to live in his car. It was a desperate measure, a last resort, but he saw it as the only way to stay in school and continue working towards his goals. He sold most of his belongings to buy a used sedan, a reliable but unremarkable vehicle that would become his temporary home. He parked it in a quiet, out-of-the-way parking lot near the university, hoping to avoid attracting attention. He was ashamed and embarrassed by his situation, but he refused to let it define him. He was determined to make the best of it, to turn this setback into an opportunity to prove his resilience and determination. He was about to embark on the most challenging chapter of his life, a chapter that would test his limits and ultimately shape him into the person he was destined to become. Life in the car was a constant struggle. The small sedan offered little comfort or privacy. Every day was a challenge, a battle against the elements and the limitations of his circumstances. The summer heat turned the car into an oven during the day, making it almost unbearable to stay inside. At night, the temperature would drop, and Michael would shiver under a thin blanket, trying to find a comfortable position in the cramped space. Finding food was a daily concern. Michael relied on cheap, non-perishable items like granola bars, peanut butter, and canned goods. He would often skip meals to save money, sacrificing his health and energy. He learned to be resourceful, taking advantage of free food events on campus and scavenging for discarded food near restaurants. Maintaining hygiene was another major challenge. Michael couldn't afford a gym membership or access to shower facilities. He would sneak into the university's recreation center early in the morning, hoping to use the showers before anyone noticed. He washed his clothes in the sinks of public restrooms and hung them to dry in the car windows, hoping they wouldn't attract attention. Sleep was a luxury. The car was uncomfortable, and Michael was constantly worried about being discovered. He would often wake up to the sound of footsteps or the glare of headlights, his heart pounding with fear. He suffered from insomnia and fatigue, which made it difficult to concentrate on his studies. Despite the hardships, Michael refused to let his circumstances define him. He established a strict routine to maintain some semblance of normalcy. He would wake up early, exercise in the parking lot, and then head to the library to study. He spent hours poring over textbooks and financial reports, determined to master the material. He saw his education as his escape, his path to a better future. He kept his situation a secret from his classmates and professors, afraid of being judged or pitted. He didn't want anyone to know about his struggles. He wanted to be seen as a regular student, not as the homeless kid. He put on a brave face, pretending that everything was fine, even though he was constantly battling despair and exhaustion. The loneliness was crushing. He missed his family, his friends, and the comforts of home. He longed for a warm meal, a comfortable bed, and a sense of belonging. But he knew that he couldn't afford to dwell on his misfortunes. He had to stay focused on his goals, to keep moving forward, one day at a time. He clung to the hope that one day, his hard work would pay off, and he would be able to escape the confines of his car and build a better life for himself and his family. He was living on the edge, but he was determined to survive. While his peers attended lectures and study groups, Michael's education took place primarily within the confines of the university library. It became his sanctuary, a place where he could escape the harsh realities of his life and immerse himself in the world of finance. He spent countless hours poring over textbooks, academic journals, and online resources, meticulously dissecting complex financial concepts. He was a self-taught scholar, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He devoured books on investment strategies, portfolio management, and economic theory. He studied the financial statements of publicly traded companies, analyzing their performance and identifying potential investment opportunities. He followed the stock market closely, tracking the movements of various indices and individual stocks. The library's computers became his portal to online learning. He discovered free online courses offered by top universities, covering a wide range of financial topics. He diligently watched the lectures, took copious notes, and completed the assignments, pushing himself to master the material. Learning without formal instruction presented unique challenges. He often struggled to grasp complex concepts without the guidance of a professor or the benefit of classroom discussions. He had to rely on his own resourcefulness and determination to overcome these obstacles. He would spend hours researching online, seeking out explanations from different sources until he finally understood the material. He also faced the challenge of staying motivated. Living in his car was exhausting and demoralizing, making it difficult to focus on his studies. He had to constantly remind himself of his goals, of the better future he was working towards. He found inspiration in the stories of successful investors and entrepreneurs who had overcome adversity to achieve their dreams. He developed his own unique learning methods. He would create flashcards to memorize key terms and concepts. He would practice applying what he learned by creating mock investment portfolios and tracking their performance. He would participate in online forums and discussion groups, engaging with other students and professionals in the field. Despite the challenges, Michael's self-study journey proved to be incredibly rewarding. He developed a deep understanding of finance and a strong sense of self-discipline. He learned to be resourceful, independent, and persistent. He discovered that he was capable of achieving anything he set his mind to, regardless of the obstacles in his path. He was building not just his knowledge, but his character, forging the resilience and determination that would ultimately lead him to success. His self-study wasn't just about learning finance, it was about learning himself. After months of relentless study and countless hours analyzing market trends, a glimmer of hope finally emerged. Michael had been tracking a small, relatively unknown tech company that was developing a groundbreaking new technology. He meticulously studied their financial reports, analyzed their market potential, and concluded that they were significantly undervalued. He knew he had very little money to invest, but he decided to take a calculated risk. He scraped together every penny he could spare, a mere $500, and invested it in the company's stock. It was a small amount, but it represented everything he had. For weeks, he anxiously monitored the stock's performance. It fluctuated wildly, testing his patience and resolve. There were times when he doubted his analysis and questioned his decision. He wondered if he had made a mistake, if he had thrown away his last chance at financial stability. Then, one day, the company announced a major breakthrough. They had secured a lucrative partnership with a leading technology firm, validating their technology and signaling a bright future. The stock price soared. Michael watched in disbelief as his investment grew exponentially. Within a matter of days, his $500 had turned into $5,000. It was a life-changing moment. He had finally found a way to leverage his knowledge and skills to generate income. The money wasn't enough to solve all of his problems, but it provided him with a much-needed cushion. He used a portion of the profits to pay off some of his student loan debt, easing the financial pressure. He also used some of the money to improve his living conditions, buying a more comfortable sleeping bag and a portable stove. More importantly, the successful investment gave him a renewed sense of hope and confidence. It validated his hard work and his belief in himself. It proved that he was capable of achieving his goals, even in the face of adversity. The breakthrough also sparked a deeper understanding of financial markets. It solidified his grasp on investment principles and sharpened his analytical skills. It was a turning point in his self-study journey, transforming him from a student into a practitioner. He began to see the real-world applications of his knowledge and the potential to make a significant impact on the financial world. This success fueled his determination to continue learning and growing, to push himself to even greater heights. He knew that he had a long way to go, but he was finally on the right track. The small victory was the catalyst he needed to keep going. Despite his breakthrough investment, Michael still faced significant challenges. He was still living in his car, still struggling to make ends meet, and still carrying the weight of his family's financial burdens. The loneliness and isolation were beginning to take their toll. One evening, while browsing online forums related to finance and investing, he stumbled upon a thread where people were sharing their own struggles and challenges. He was struck by the honesty and vulnerability of the posters. He realized that he wasn't alone, that there were others who were facing similar hardships. Inspired by their courage, Michael decided to share his own story. He created a simple blog, anonymously at first, and began writing about his experiences. He wrote about the challenges of living in his car, the difficulties of self-studying finance, and the emotional toll of his family's financial struggles. His initial motivation was simple: to connect with others who could understand what he was going through. He hoped to find support, encouragement, and maybe even some practical advice. He also hoped that his story might inspire others who were facing adversity. He didn't expect anyone to read his blog, but to his surprise, people started to respond. They left comments, shared their own stories, and offered words of encouragement. He found a sense of community and connection that he had been desperately missing. As he continued to write, he realized that his story was resonating with people for a variety of reasons. Some were inspired by his determination and resilience. Others were touched by his honesty and vulnerability. Still others were impressed by his knowledge of finance and his commitment to self-improvement. He started to receive emails from people who were facing similar challenges, asking for advice and guidance. He spent hours responding to their messages, sharing his experiences and offering words of encouragement. He realized that he had a unique opportunity to help others, to use his story to make a positive impact on the world. Sharing his story was a cathartic experience for Michael. It allowed him to process his emotions, to make sense of his experiences, and to find meaning in his struggles. It also gave him a sense of purpose and direction. He realized that he wasn't just fighting for himself, but for others who were facing similar challenges. The act of sharing became a source of strength, further solidifying his resolve to overcome adversity and achieve his dreams. He found that helping others was, in turn, helping himself. The turning point came unexpectedly. One day, a popular personal finance blogger stumbled upon Michael's blog and was deeply moved by his story. She decided to share it with her large audience, highlighting his resilience, his dedication to self-improvement, and his commitment to helping others. Within hours, Michael's blog went viral. Thousands of people from all over the world were reading his story, sharing it on social media, and leaving comments of support and encouragement. The response was overwhelming. He was inundated with messages from people who were inspired by his journey, who were touched by his honesty, and who wanted to help him in any way they could. Some offered financial assistance, others offered mentorship and guidance, and still others simply offered words of encouragement. News outlets began to pick up the story, further amplifying its reach. Michael was interviewed by local newspapers, national magazines, and even television news programs. He was suddenly thrust into the spotlight, his anonymity shattered. The attention was both exhilarating and terrifying. He was grateful for the outpouring of support, but he was also overwhelmed by the pressure. He worried about being judged, about being exposed as a fraud, about letting people down. Despite his anxieties, Michael decided to embrace the opportunity. He used his newfound platform to raise awareness about the challenges faced by students from low-income backgrounds, to advocate for greater access to education, and to inspire others to pursue their dreams, regardless of their circumstances. The support he received was truly remarkable. People from all walks of life offered to help him in any way they could. Some sent him money to help pay for his tuition and living expenses. Others offered him internships and job opportunities. Still others offered him a place to stay, a warm meal, and a sense of community. The viral attention transformed Michael's life. He was no longer alone, struggling in the shadows. He was surrounded by a community of people who believed in him, who supported him, and who were invested in his success. He had found his voice, his purpose, and his path to a better future. The world had opened up to him, and he was ready to seize the opportunities that lay ahead. He knew the journey wouldn't be easy, but he was no longer afraid. He had the strength, the support, and the determination to overcome any obstacle. The viral attention opened doors that Michael never could have imagined. The most immediate benefit was financial stability. Donations poured in, allowing him to pay off his student loans, secure stable housing, and provide much-needed support to his family. He was finally able to focus on his studies without the constant worry of where his next meal would come from or where he would sleep. Beyond the financial relief, Michael received an outpouring of offers for mentorship from prominent figures in the finance industry. Seasoned investors, hedge fund managers, and financial advisors reached out, eager to share their knowledge and guidance. He was paired with a mentor who had decades of experience in the field, someone who could provide him with invaluable insights and advice. He also received numerous job offers, ranging from internships at prestigious investment firms to full-time positions at established financial institutions. He carefully considered his options, weighing the pros and cons of each opportunity. He ultimately decided to accept an internship at a well-respected hedge fund, where he could gain hands-on experience and learn from some of the best minds in the industry. The viral story also led to speaking engagements. Michael was invited to share his story at conferences, universities, and corporate events. He spoke passionately about his experiences, his challenges, and his triumphs. He inspired audiences with his resilience, his determination, and his unwavering belief in the power of education. These speaking engagements not only provided him with additional income but also allowed him to connect with even more people who were facing adversity. He used his platform to advocate for greater access to education, to challenge stereotypes about homelessness, and to inspire others to pursue their dreams, regardless of their circumstances. The opportunities that arose from his viral story transformed Michael's life in profound ways. He went from being a struggling student living in his car to a sought-after intern, a respected speaker, and a role model for countless individuals around the world. He was finally on a path to achieving his dreams, and he was determined to make the most of every opportunity that came his way. He knew that he had a responsibility to use his platform to make a positive impact on the world, to give back to the community that had supported him, and to inspire others to overcome their challenges and achieve their full potential. His journey was just beginning, and he was excited to see where it would lead. One day, while working at the hedge fund, Michael received an email that seemed too good to be true. It was an invitation from an Ivy League university, inviting him to deliver a guest lecture to their finance students. He reread the email several times, convinced that it was a mistake or a prank. He checked the sender's address, verified the university's website, and even called the finance department to confirm the invitation's authenticity. To his astonishment, it was real. The university had been following his story and was impressed by his knowledge, his resilience, and his ability to connect with audiences. They believed that his unique perspective would be invaluable to their students. Michael was overcome with a mix of disbelief and excitement. He had always dreamed of attending an Ivy League university, but he never imagined that he would be invited to lecture at one. It was an incredible honor, a validation of his hard work and his commitment to self-improvement. He immediately called his parents to share the news. They were overjoyed and incredibly proud of him. They had always believed in his potential, even when things were at their darkest. This invitation was a testament to their unwavering support and their belief in the power of education. Michael accepted the invitation without hesitation. He knew that it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a chance to share his story with a new audience and to make a lasting impact on the lives of aspiring finance professionals. However, as the date of the lecture approached, Michael began to feel a sense of anxiety and self-doubt. He had never lectured at a university before, let alone an Ivy League institution. He worried about whether he was qualified, whether he could hold the students' attention, and whether he could live up to their expectations. He spent countless hours preparing for the lecture, researching the latest financial trends, crafting engaging presentations, and practicing his delivery. He wanted to make sure that he was well prepared and that he could provide the students with valuable insights and practical advice. He also grappled with the question of how much to reveal about his personal story. He was proud of what he had overcome, but he was also aware that his experiences were unconventional and potentially controversial. He ultimately decided to be honest and authentic, to share his story in a way that was both inspiring and informative. He hoped that his vulnerability would resonate with the students and encourage them to pursue their dreams, regardless of the obstacles in their path. The invitation was a dream come true, but the reality of delivering the lecture was daunting. The closer the lecture date came, the more Michael wrestled with imposter syndrome. He couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't belong, that he was an outsider who had somehow managed to sneak into a world of privilege and prestige. He kept questioning his qualifications, wondering if he was truly worthy of the opportunity. He imagined the students, bright, accomplished, and well-connected, and he couldn't help but compare himself to them. He worried that they would see through him, that they would realize that he was just a kid from a small town who had lived in his car. He feared that they would dismiss him as a fraud, a charlatan who had somehow managed to fool everyone. To combat these feelings of self-doubt, Michael doubled down on his preparation. He immersed himself in research, studying the latest academic papers, analyzing market trends, and refining his presentation. He sought feedback from his mentor, who provided him with invaluable advice and encouragement. He also reminded himself of his accomplishments. He had overcome incredible obstacles, he had taught himself finance, and he had built a successful investment portfolio. He had a unique perspective to offer, one that was shaped by his experiences and his resilience. He practiced his lecture repeatedly, honing his delivery, refining his arguments, and anticipating potential questions. He wanted to be as prepared as possible, to minimize the risk of making a mistake or saying something foolish. But more importantly, he focused on his purpose. He reminded himself that he wasn't just lecturing for himself, but for the students, for his family, and for everyone who had ever believed in him. He wanted to inspire them, to empower them, and to give them the tools they needed to succeed. He also reached out to his online community, sharing his anxieties and seeking their support. He was overwhelmed by the outpouring of encouragement he received. People from all over the world sent him messages of support, reminding him of his strengths, his accomplishments, and his potential. He realized that he wasn't alone in his struggles with imposter syndrome. Many people, even successful individuals, experience feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy. The key was not to let these feelings define him, but to use them as motivation to prepare, to learn, and to grow. On the day of the lecture, Michael still felt nervous, but he also felt a sense of calm and confidence. He had done everything he could to prepare, and he was ready to share his story with the world. He knew that he belonged, not because of his background or his accomplishments, but because of his passion, his purpose, and his commitment to making a difference. He was ready to embrace the opportunity and to inspire the next generation of finance professionals. The self-doubt lingered, but it no longer controlled him. Michael's lecture was a resounding success. The students were captivated by his story, impressed by his knowledge, and inspired by his resilience. They peppered him with questions, eager to learn from his experiences and to gain insights into the world of finance. After the lecture, many students approached Michael to express their gratitude. They told him that his story had changed their perspective, that it had given them hope, and that it had motivated them to pursue their dreams with renewed vigor. One student, Sarah, shared that she had been struggling with self-doubt and anxiety about her future. She had always dreamed of working in finance, but she felt intimidated by the competition and unsure of her abilities. Michael's story had shown her that anything was possible with hard work, determination, and a belief in oneself. She left the lecture feeling inspired and empowered to pursue her goals with confidence. Another student, David, told Michael that he had been facing financial challenges and had considered dropping out of school. Michael's story had given him the courage to persevere, to find creative solutions to his problems, and to continue working towards his degree. He was determined to overcome his obstacles and to make a positive impact on the world. Several students expressed their admiration for Michael's honesty and vulnerability. They appreciated that he had shared his personal struggles, his fears, and his triumphs. They felt that it made him relatable and authentic, and it allowed them to connect with him on a deeper level. One student, Maria, wrote a heartfelt testimonial about Michael's impact on her life. She said that his lecture had been a turning point for her, that it had given her a new sense of purpose and direction. She was now determined to use her skills and knowledge to help others, to give back to her community, and to make a positive difference in the world. The university faculty was also impressed by Michael's lecture. They recognized that he had a unique ability to connect with students, to inspire them, and to challenge them to think critically about the world of finance. They invited him to return for future lectures, and eventually, they offered him a full-time position as a professor. Michael's impact on the students extended far beyond the classroom. He became a mentor, a role model, and a friend to many of them. He provided them with guidance, support, and encouragement, helping them to navigate their academic and professional lives. He showed them that anything was possible with hard work, determination, and a belief in oneself. He proved that even someone who had started with nothing could achieve great things and inspire millions along the way. The impact was undeniable. Michael had found his calling. Now firmly established as a professor, Michael felt a deep responsibility to give back to the community that had supported him. He knew firsthand the challenges faced by students from low-income backgrounds, and he was determined to create opportunities for others to succeed. He established a scholarship fund at his former high school, providing financial assistance to students who demonstrated academic excellence and a commitment to pursuing higher education. The scholarship not only helped to cover tuition costs but also provided recipients with mentorship and guidance. He also launched a mentorship program at the university, pairing students from disadvantaged backgrounds with successful professionals in the finance industry. The program provided students with valuable networking opportunities, career advice, and a supportive community. Michael became an outspoken advocate for greater access to education, speaking out against systemic inequalities and lobbying for policies that would level the playing field. He worked with nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and private foundations to promote educational equity and to create opportunities for underserved communities. He also used his platform to raise awareness about the issue of homelessness, challenging stereotypes and advocating for policies that would provide affordable housing and support services to those in need. He volunteered at local homeless shelters, providing meals, offering job training, and sharing his story of hope and resilience. Michael created a website and online community where students from all over the world could connect with each other, share their experiences, and access resources to help them succeed. The website featured articles, videos, and online courses on a variety of topics, including financial literacy, career development, and personal growth. He also wrote a book about his experiences, sharing his story of overcoming adversity and achieving his dreams. The book became a bestseller, inspiring millions of readers to pursue their goals with passion, perseverance, and a belief in themselves. Michael's commitment to giving back extended beyond the realm of education and finance. He also supported a variety of charitable causes, donating his time, money, and resources to organizations that were working to make the world a better place. He believed that it was his responsibility to use his success to help others, to create a more just and equitable society, and to inspire future generations to do the same. He wanted to be more than just a professor, he wanted to be a force for good in the world. The car was far behind him, but the lessons learned within it remained his driving force. Looking back on his journey, Michael often reflects on the key lessons he learned along the way. The most important, he says, is the power of perseverance. He emphasizes that success is not about talent or luck, but about the ability to keep going, even when things are difficult. He learned that setbacks are inevitable, but they don't have to define you. It's how you respond to those setbacks that matters most. He also learned the importance of resilience. Living in his car taught him how to adapt to challenging circumstances, how to find solutions to problems, and how to bounce back from adversity. He discovered that he was stronger and more capable than he ever thought possible. He realized that resilience is not just about surviving, but about thriving, about using challenges as opportunities for growth. Another key lesson was the power of self-belief. Michael says that his belief in himself was what kept him going during his darkest days. He knew that he had the potential to achieve his dreams, even when others doubted him. He learned to trust his instincts, to follow his passion, and to never give up on himself. He also emphasizes the importance of gratitude. He is grateful for the support he received from his family, his friends, his mentors, and his online community. He knows that he wouldn't be where he is today without their help. He learned that gratitude is not just about saying thank you, but about appreciating the good things in your life, even when things are tough. Michael also realized the transformative power of vulnerability. Sharing his story online was scary, but it allowed him to connect with others on a deeper level, to find support and encouragement, and to make a positive impact on the world. He learned that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength, that it allows you to build meaningful relationships and to inspire others. He often says that his experience living in his car was the most challenging but also the most rewarding period of his life. It taught him valuable lessons about perseverance, resilience, self-belief, gratitude, and vulnerability. It shaped him into the person he is today, and it gave him a unique perspective on the world. He wouldn't trade that experience for anything, because he knows that it made him stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The car, in its own way, was his greatest teacher. It taught him lessons no classroom ever could. Michael's journey is far from over. He has ambitious goals for the future, both professionally and personally. He is committed to continuing his research in finance, exploring new investment strategies, and contributing to the field's knowledge base. He wants to publish academic papers, present at conferences, and become a leading expert in his area of specialization. He also wants to expand his teaching career, developing new courses, mentoring students, and inspiring the next generation of finance professionals. He hopes to create a more inclusive and equitable learning environment, where students from all backgrounds can thrive. Personally, Michael wants to continue to grow as a person, to learn new things, and to experience new cultures. He wants to travel the world, meet new people, and broaden his horizons. He also wants to deepen his relationships with his family and friends, to spend more time with them, and to create lasting memories. But above all, Michael is committed to inspiring others. He wants to use his story to show people that anything is possible, that they can overcome any obstacle and achieve their dreams, regardless of their circumstances. He wants to empower them to believe in themselves, to follow their passions, and to make a positive impact on the world. He plans to continue writing, speaking, and mentoring, reaching out to as many people as possible and sharing his message of hope and resilience. He also wants to create new platforms and initiatives to support students from disadvantaged backgrounds, providing them with the resources, the guidance, and the encouragement they need to succeed. Michael knows that his journey is not unique, that there are countless other people who are facing similar challenges. He wants to be a voice for those who are struggling, to advocate for their needs, and to inspire them to never give up on their dreams. He believes that everyone has the potential to achieve great things, and he wants to help them unlock that potential. He sees his success not as an end in itself, but as a means to an end, a way to make the world a better place. He wants to leave a lasting legacy, not just in the field of finance, but in the lives of the people he has touched. The car may be a distant memory, but the drive to overcome adversity and to inspire others remains his constant companion, guiding him on his continuing journey. He knows that the road ahead may be challenging, but he is ready to face whatever comes his way, armed with the lessons he has learned and the unwavering belief in the power of the human spirit. Michael Thompson's story is a powerful testament to the human spirit's capacity for resilience, perseverance, and self-belief. It's a story that resonates with millions because it speaks to the universal desire to overcome adversity and to achieve one's dreams. His journey from living in his car to lecturing at an Ivy League university is a vivid illustration of what is possible with hard work, dedication, and a refusal to give up. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can flicker, and that a single spark of inspiration can ignite a fire that changes everything. Michael's story is not just about him. It's about the potential that lies within each of us, waiting to be unlocked. It's about the importance of believing in ourselves, even when others doubt us. It's about the power of education to transform lives and to create opportunities. It's also about the importance of giving back, of using our success to help others, and of making a positive impact on the world. Michael's commitment to inspiring others is a shining example of what it means to be a true leader, a true role model. So, what is the takeaway from Michael Thompson's story? It's simple: never give up on your dreams. No matter how difficult the obstacles may seem, no matter how challenging the circumstances may be, you have the power to overcome them. You have the potential to achieve great things. Believe in yourself, follow your passion, and never let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Surround yourself with supportive people, seek out mentors, and never be afraid to ask for help. And most importantly, remember that your journey is not just about you. It's about inspiring others, about making a positive impact on the world, and about leaving a lasting legacy. So, go out there and pursue your dreams. Don't let fear, doubt, or adversity hold you back. The world needs your talents, your skills, and your passion. Be the change you want to see in the world. Michael Thompson's story is proof that anything is possible. Now it's your turn to write your own story, to create your own legacy, and to inspire millions along the way. The car is no longer his classroom, the world is. What lessons will you teach? What dreams will you chase? The answer, like Michael's journey, begins with believing in yourself.